Hello, my lovelies. While the hater watches NXT and the greatest show ever, Dynamite, so he can review it in the Wednesday Night Wars, the hater thought that he would appear and make an appearance, if you will, and talk about why AEW is the best wrestling company of all time. I mean, anyone that thinks that AEW is not the greatest company ever, that it's better than WCW and WWE and ECW and TNA, well, they're just biased and they just really want to see big sweaty old men fight each other. AEW is hip. It has its current. It has its finger on the pulse, and most importantly, it gives the wrestlers the ability to be creative, which is something that no one really understands. The mainstream fans really don't understand how held back Matt Hardy and Ty Dillinger were. I mean, think about that. In NXT and WWE, Ty Dillinger was a guy whose gimmick was just to say the number 10. But think about how much he has improved. Now, he doesn't do the one thing that made him interesting, and instead wears blue contacts, has a great haircut, and sits down on a chair and calls himself the chairman of AEW. And he's accompanied by easily the most important guy in the Four Horsemen, Tully Blanchard. I mean, if you don't like Ty Dillinger, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say Ty Dillinger. That's a bad lover. His name is not Ty Dillinger, guys. It's Sean Spears. Ty Dillinger was his slave name that WWE gave him. Sean Spears is the name of a champion and a main eventer. I mean, don't even think about that guy. Look at what AEW has done with Brody Lee. Brody Lee was supposed to be this southern evil guy in WWE named Luke Harper, right? But he's from Rochester, Vince. He's from Rochester, you idiot. I mean, how can you take a guy from Rochester and expect him to play the role of someone else? I mean, everybody knows that people from Rochester don't know how to act. So why would you put this guy on an entertainment show and expect him to be anything but himself? I mean, when Luke Harper went to Vince and said, Vince, I just want to be myself, or I want to have a gimmick where I'm a collector of things, like a smart guy, Vince should have listened to him, because Luke Harper is a smart guy, guys. Brody Lee is a smart guy. So Vince McMahon should have given him the exact gimmick that he wanted, without any consideration as to what this would do for the rest of the show. Asking someone to put on a different accent is not okay, Vince. It's just not okay. You can't ask someone to pretend to be something that they're not. That's not what wrestling is about. Wrestling is about being exactly who you are and people liking you for that. The entertainment part of wrestling is completely not important. What's important is that every match have at least 5 dives, a few suicide dives, a few kicks, and about 15 kickouts and false finishes. That's what wrestling is all about. And that's why AEW is so much better than WWE. Because WWE historically has focused too much on the storyline. I mean, why would we care about a porn star named Val Venus? What is the logic of having a porn star as a character? Why not focus your energy on having someone who's great in the ring? You know what I mean? Someone like Jack Evans. I mean, who's better, Batista or Jack Evans? Can Batista do flips? Can Batista do flips? That's right. Jack Evans can do a lot of flips. Sure, he botches about 80% of them and the other 20% look like shit, but he does flips. And that's what wrestling's all about. I mean, you don't have to look any further than the world's best tag team, the Young Bucks. I mean, the Young Bucks are incredible. I mean, the Young Bucks just do the same moves, but they do them so well and they're so flippy that they are by far the best tag team of all time. They've literally been carrying tag team wrestling on their back in Japan in front of about 800 people for 15 years. For 15 years, they've been the best tag team, even though about 15 people have seen them wrestle. So, and then don't even get me started on the legendary Cody Rhodes, who has already surpassed his brother, his father, Triple H, Randy Orton, and everybody. Cody Rhodes just gets it. If you think that Cody Rhodes doesn't get it, then I got news for you. That ain't it, okay? That ain't it. There's no argument as to why Cody Rhodes is better, But I'm just going to say that ain't it and pretend that I've made a point. You know, Cody Rhodes has everything. Vince McMahon is probably kicking himself in the buttocks, you know, having let Cody Rhodes go. Cody Rhodes should have been beating Randy Orton and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, you know, pinning them both clean, and then gone on and fought Becky Lynch for the women's title so he can be the first man to hold a women's title. Just like Tessa Blanchard is the coolest wrestler of all time for having a men's title, Cody Rhodes could be the best male wrestler of all time by having a women's title. You know what I mean? That's what's important, guys. Equality and having men compete with women. That's what AEW and TNA are all about now. They have Tessa Blanchard out there beating guys like Brian Cage, who is an incredible wrestler, am I right, guys? An incredible wrestler and a legitimate bad guy. Forget about the fact that he lost to a girl that's 120 pounds. Who cares about that? It happened in a different company. Now he's presented as a big threat, and that's how you should accept it. Another reason why AEW is better than WWE is because it really lets their stars have creative freedom. I mean, look at the character, the amazing character development of the murder hawk, Lance Archer. This guy started his career as a jobber in WWE called Vance Archer. But taking the L and replacing it with a V was a horrible idea on Vince McMahon's part. Vance Archer had all the tools. Vance Archer should have beaten Batista. And now that he has creative control, he has changed so many things about his character. I mean, first, he has red hair, guys. He has red hair. And just like when Sasha Banks changed her hair color, we all know that when you change your hair color, you are a totally different and better character. You know, think about Matt Hardy. I can envision him now going to Vince and saying, Vince, I have an idea for my gimmick. My gimmick should be that periodically, mid-match, I teleport and also switch personalities. I go from my first incarnation of Matt Hardy to my current one to the cold-blooded one that was in ROH for about a week. You know, that's my character. And I can already see it now. The close-minded, out-of-touch Vince McMahon probably said, that's stupid. No one serious can ever like someone who changes gimmicks mid-match. And that's just because Vince is out of touch, guys. We've already seen all the great work that Matt Hardy has done in AEW. You know, he is a legend. He is better than Jeff Hardy. He is better than Edge. He is better than Randy Orton. Matt Hardy is one of the greatest WWE wrestlers of all time. And now he is allowed to talk about people and say that he wants to mash them into mofongo so he can eat them. I mean, if you don't think that's great and creative, then I don't know what's wrong with you. I can tell you one guy who didn't think it was creative and is probably kicking himself in the ass right now. That's Vince McMahon, guys. No, not ass, sorry, buttocks. Kicking himself in the buttocks, right? Look at the Revival, or FTR as they're called now. Easily the best tag team in WWE history. Vince just didn't know how to use them. Despite the fact that they're being used in the exact same fashion on AEW, with the only difference being that they're now winning because other tag teams in AEW just aren't as good, Vince did not know how to use them. Vince should have put the Universal title on Dax Harwood and the WWE Championship on Cash Wheeler. That, and also have them have the NXT, Monday Night Raw, and SmackDown Tag Team Championships simultaneously. Hell, even give them the UK titles while you're at it. You know what I mean? These guys were once-in-a-lifetime talents, and Vince McMahon, once again, let them go through his fingers. And I will say this. The number one prospect, Kenny Omega, the guy who has 3 moves, but people pretend is the best. The guy who has 1,000,000 moves and is the best in-ring guy ever. You have to ignore the fact that he does a taunt after every move, which kills any sort of realism about wrestling. You know, for him, it's not a sport, guys. It's a video game. You know, he spends his time dressing like Princess Jasmine and playing Undertale, and that's cool. If he wants to come out dressed as Akuma from Street Fighter, and you have to accept that that's just cool. I mean, WWE would have ruined him. You know, they would have told him, you can't come out dressed like a character from Undertale or like Jasmine. And that's what we love about Kenny Omega. His eccentricity, guys. His ability to dress up in cool costumes and send a point across. You know what I mean? He has the best moves. WWE would have removed all of his good moves, like the one-winged angel. despite the fact that Killian Dane does the same exact move, but better, and despite the fact that Kenny Omega's version of the move is very similar to the Attitude Adjustment. You know, it's the same move, guys, but for some reason, Vince McMahon would have not let him do it because Vince wants to ruin good wrestling. He did it when he bought up the territories. Vince McMahon is not a good man. Do you know who is a good man? Tony Khan. Tony Khan really understands wrestling. And we should listen to Tony Khan from now on. When AEW one day buys WWE, we will have to forget about inferior wrestlers like Shawn Michaels, Undertaker, Kurt Angle, Triple H. All we will need is Orange Cassidy, Jungle Boy, and Marco Stunt. If we had those people, that would be all that we would need. It is not something that is too far away, guys. WWE is losing viewership, and AEW, despite the fact that they cannot crack 1 million views with their supposed better wrestling, the fact is that AEW will win. And what's going to happen is what I just said. WWE will be out of business because they are the inferior company, and AEW will win the Wednesday Night Wars, the Friday Night Wars, the Monday Night Wars, and any other kind of wars. Then AEW will buy the UFC, and people like Kenny Omega will go out there and knock out Stipe Miocic in 10 seconds because Kenny Omega is a heavyweight, guys. He's a heavyweight, and he will just do a V-trigger on Stipe Miocic, pick him up, and hit him with a one-winged angel, and then do a taunt, and he will be the new heavyweight champion of the world. Just wait. That's what's going to happen. Okay? This has been a video by your favorite YouTuber ever, The Lover. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go and eat some vegan food, some soy shakes, you know, and some cauliflower steak, because that's what I like to eat. You know, I'm a vegan. I don't want animals to suffer from me. And, you know, I don't need vitamin B12 to be healthy. That's a myth, guys. That's a lie. That's what the meat lobby wants you to think. So with that being said, have a nice day and stay tuned because later on, the hater, I mean, why would you even want to watch the hater when you have the lover here? But later on, the hater will do his Wednesday Night War review. Okay? Farewell, lovelies.